Hello and welcome to part 2 of my 10 cards, 1 kit featuring the Simon Says Stamp January 2018 card kit. So for card number 6, I'm taking the largest solid heart and I'm going to ink that up with some of the Delicata ink from the kit. And I'm going to stamp that 3 times on this white cardstock that I had in my stash. Then I'm going to take the smaller solid heart and ink that up several times and just stamp that randomly on the same panel. This Delicata ink is so pretty. I'm thinking about purchasing some other colors, just like a blue or a green, or just to have something a little different. So I'll clean off my stamps, and then I'm going to take some VersaFine ink and ink up the stitched heart, and I'm going to take that and stamp that on top of the Delicata hearts. And I meant to, before I did that, I meant to heat set the Delicata ink so it wouldn't smudge, but I forgot, so I went ahead and did that before I continued. So here I'm taking the smaller outline heart and I'm just stamping over the smaller pink hearts, and I wasn't worried about getting it perfect. So now I'm taking one of the other smaller hearts and stamping that with some of the VersaFine ink, and then the tiny heart I'm doing the same. And I'll just continue with that until I get the coverage that I want. Cleaning my stamps off, and then I'm just going to take the Sentiment XOXO and I'm going to stamp that over the bottom right heart that I had not stamped anything on yet. Now I'm taking a piece of the pattern paper. It's the one with the little words, and I'm trying to decide exactly how big I want this. In case I haven't mentioned it before, all of my cards are A2 size cards, unless I state otherwise. So they're the standard A2 5.5 by 4 1/4. And here I get this crooked, but I see that and straighten it out, or try to. So then I'm going to trim off the extra at the top. And I'm just going to use some tape adhesive to adhere that to my background. I use the cotton candy cardstock that came in the kit for my background there. So here I'm just adding some Wink of Stella to all the smaller solid black hearts. Making sure I have all of them covered. And then I'm going to take some glossy accents and go over that. And you can't really tell much about it until it dries, but I will add a picture at the end so you can see how it looks after everything dries. And that is it for card number 6. For card 7, I'm taking a piece of the pattern paper. It's the one that looks like conversation hearts, and I'm going to cut it at a diagonal using my paper trimmer. And then I'm going to take my Schoolhouse Red card base and attach that to the card base. And I'm just using some Elmer's tape runner that I had in my stash forever. And attach that. And then I'm going to trim off the extra at the top after I get that lined up. Okay, so for my sentiment, I'm going to take a piece of the black cardstock. I'm using my powder tool to keep the embossing powder from going everywhere. And then I'm going to stamp with some Versamark ink the I Really Like You sentiment. I'm using my white embossing powder, and I'm going to heat that up, melt the embossing powder, and then I'm dusting off all the extra anti-static powder. Then I'm going to take this die from MFT and cut out the sentiment with my Big Shot. I do that off camera. And then I'm going to add some foam tape to the back to pop the sentiment up. And if I haven't mentioned it before, I like to use the micropore tape to do all my die cutting, and I keep it in a little dispenser, and it's really good. It doesn't tear your paper, and if you do think it's too sticky, you can like stick it to your shirt or your hand or whatever to remove some of the stickiness. So then I'm going to take some of the stickers from the sticker sheet and just apply those. And that will be it for card number 7. I really like this card. This is one of my favorites. So cute. Okay, for card number 8, I'm going to take 2 of the patterned papers and create a card panel. Just using some of that Elmer's adhesive tape to do that. Excuse me. And I'm just going to apply this to my A2 size card base that I created using some cardstock from my stash. It's a top folding card base. And then I'm going to trim off the extra. So then I'm going to take a piece of the Desert Storm cardstock from the kit, and I have a tag die from Lawn Fawn. Just going to use some of my micropore tape to tape that down, and I'm going to run it through my Big Shot, but then I realize I need to also run the die for the little accent piece through as well, so I do that. Carefully remove the tape. And I'm going to use my Zig glue pen to apply the little accent piece. And attach that with my quick stick. I love this quick stick. It really helps you to apply little small pieces without your fingers getting in the way. So I'm going to take some baker's twine that I had in my stash. It's really pretty pink and red and white. And thread that through. Then I'm going to pop this up on some foam tape and apply it to my card base. Sorry, it's the crinkle of my water bottle. I've got a dry throat. So here I'm taking a glue dot and I'm just going to put it behind the baker's twine just to kind of hold it in place how I want it. And I grabbed the wrong scissors, of course, and I have trouble cutting that off, but I get it done. So then I'm going to take 2 of the little sentiments from the cut apart sheet and apply those on top of the tag. And I'm just taking some little foam squares to pop up the edge since the tag is popped up. I needed to do that. And then I'm just going to apply some other flat adhesive to the rest of the sentiments. And I think I end up using my Creative Memories tape runner. I can't remember. Yes. I'm trying to use up a lot of this stuff that I've had in my stash forever. I've been scrapbooking since 2000. Well, actually, I don't really scrapbook anymore, but that's when I started really getting into paper crafting. And so I have so many supplies that I've hoarded all these years, and I'm just trying to use some of them up. So I get those attached, and then I'm going to take this sweet little pink heart, smiley heart, and put that on the card, and that is it for card number 8. Now, card number 9 was a complete disaster from the beginning, and I'll just warn you, it is not pretty. So I was planning on making a shaker card, and I cut out this piece using an MFT die, and I completely lose track of what I'm doing and get ahead of myself, and I apply all of the foam tape on the piece, and I realized that I forgot to put my acetate down. So I remove all that, and it tears the paper. So you saw me earlier, I was trying to use some tape runner to apply my acetate, and it was just tearing it even more. So I ended up using my Zig glue pen to attach the acetate. I know it looks like a horrible mess. And then after that, I decided that I did not want to deal with foam tape anymore because I did all that and had to undo it. And at one point, you even see I have foam tape on my sleeve. So anyway, I used some fun foam and cut that out. And that was kind of hard too because I cut it the wrong. I had the die placed wrong on the fun foam, so it didn't exactly work right either. But I made it work, kept going. I so wanted to trash this card, but I decided to just go ahead with it. And so I get the fun foam down, and then I'm going to use some of these pretty pink posh sequins, light pale pink, and then some other pretty pink posh sequins. And I learned a couple things from this card. Plan everything out. Okay, here we go. Let me show you this. This is jumbo glitter, and I got this at Walmart, and it's like a huge container of it, and I think it's really pretty and shimmery. I showed you the container there, and it's like $2. So I really like that. But anyway, the things I learned was to think everything through and don't let your mind wander while you're creating, and don't get ahead of yourself. And also, I needed to cut all of my pieces at the same time with the die, and that would have helped tremendously. But anyway, here I'm using some Aleene's Tacky Glue. This was at the advice of one of my subscribers, and it worked good. I'm trying to find a liquid adhesive that I really like, and this worked pretty well. And I'm going to try some other things and just see what I like best. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. So I adhere a piece of pattern paper behind the shaker to create the shaker. And then I'm going to take some score tape and apply it to the back. I just wanted it to be really stable on here since there was so much to the front of this. I didn't know if my other adhesive would hold it as well. So of course I struggle getting the backing off as usual. And you'll see here, even now, you can see like some of the pattern paper peeping over the edge there. And this card just did not go as planned, but it's okay. And that happens. I'm sure it's happened to everybody who makes cards. But it's just paper and glue and sequins, and you just go with it. Probably, though, had I not been using the kit and just had the limited supplies that were in the kit, I probably would have trashed it, to be honest. But I would have trashed it the moment that I cut that and started putting the foam tape down and realized I messed up. But anyway, so I'm going to apply some of the little sequins on the outside here. Oh, and I took a cut apart for the sentiment and the little heart from the cut aparts. And that little pink strip I cut from one of the top where you remove the pattern paper from the pack. I use that for that. So I wanted something light and without a busy pattern to back that sentiment. So I'm just applying some more sequins. And I tell you what, when this was done, I was so happy. So happy. And there it is for card number 9. So for card number 10, cut part of this footage out because I was off camera. I get involved in what I'm doing and completely forget that I'm supposed to be on camera. But I'm just doing a random pattern on some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm using my VersaFine ink again, Onyx Black ink. And just stamp up the random pattern. So I'm going to clear emboss this. I love doing this instead of trying to use like black embossing powder. This works much better, I think. And you could do it in any color ink you had. Well, not any color ink. It would have to be like a VersaFine or a pigment ink. It has to be a sticky ink that stays dry, that stays wet for a while. But anyway, I'm heat embossing this, melting the embossing powder with my heat tool. And I've got to get some tweezers. I'm going to end up scorching my fingers. I had some of the reverse tweezers, but they got bent somehow and just do not work anymore. So I'm taking another one of the little heart stamps and inking that up with the VersaFine as well. Just kind of filling in the empty spaces there. And I'm going to clear emboss that as well. And both times I forgot to use my anti-static powder tool. But it turned out okay. There was a couple spots where when I go to color, I can tell that there's some embossing powder there, but it turned out okay. But it is very important to use your powder tool. There's a couple different ones that, that people use and they work really well. So I'm taking my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers here, and I'm just going to color in all the larger hearts with my light violet. And what I'm doing, I'm just applying a little bit of color at the bottom and then using my water brush to just spread the color throughout the heart, just blending it up. Then I'm going to heat set that a little bit. Then I'm going to go in with my pink marker and color in those at the bottom and then do the same process for all of those. And some of the footage that I cut out, it was because I was off camera once again. So I'm just going to color all those in. I'm really enjoying these markers. I just got them for Christmas, and it was a 36 pack. So now I really want them all. So we'll see. But I've had a lot of fun using them. So I'm just going to finish coloring those in. Oh, and I got a little bit outside the line. I'm just using my clean water brush to kind of take care of that a little bit. You can still see it a little bit, but it's no big deal. That's another thing I'm learning is, perfection is overrated. It kind of sucks the joy out of everything. And believe me, I am far from perfect. Okay. So I'm going to pop this panel up on some foam tape. I have the big roll of the Scotch 3M foam tape. And I created a card base with some cardstock from my stash. It's like a violet color that really matched the ink, not the ink, but the marker. So I attached that. It's a top folding card base. So here I'm just taking a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock and using my Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to create a little area to stamp my sentiment, so it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm not using this entire thing. Just blend that out some more. And I only have 2 colors of the Distress Oxide inks, but I will be getting more because I really, really like them. So I'm going to take, okay, I'm putting the die down to make sure where I want to stamp my sentiment. And I'm going to use some of the VersaFine ink again. And I'm going to take clear embossing powder, and instead of just putting it on the sentiment, I'm putting it all over this little area that I've created, this little panel I've created. And this is so cool. I love to watch this. When it starts to melt, it just turns it into like a really pretty shimmery pink. I love it. So I got that done, and I'm going to cut this out with this MFT die. It's the Inside Out Stitch Circle die set. And I'm just going to attach this flat on the card. And then I'm just going to take some little sequins from my stash, some iridescent sequins, and apply those with some glossy accents, if I can get it to come out. I'm just using my quick stick here, and for some reason it would not pick up the larger sequin. So I ended up doing it the old-fashioned way with my fingers, but the other sequins it worked fine with, so I'm not sure if it was just too heavy for it to pick up or what. So I think I try to show you the shimmer on this thing. Oh yeah, there we go. I love the way that turned out. So that is it for card number 10. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and found some inspiration, I hope you consider subscribing. And I will see you again soon with another video. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.